So I called my parent, or at first I'm like, Lord, they live so far away. I'm like, if you want them to come pray for me, will you please tell them? And my mom calls me. I can't remember if she called or messaged me and said, I feel like we're supposed to come pray for you in person. And I'm like, yeah, I think so too. So we set the day for that week. And I think it was a Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure. It was May 24th of 2020. But they came in. And as soon as my mom and stepdad walked in, so leading up to that, I knew that I had some demons. I didn't know how many. I didn't know how much was mental illness. I didn't know how much was demons. I didn't know how much was being not healed yet from all of the abuse. And I had given my parents a quick rundown of, this is what deliverance ministry looks like. This is what you do. You cast demons out verbally in the name of Jesus. And you ask them if they have any legal rights. And if they do, what it is, you get that released. And then you command them to go. Like, it was a quick, this is what we're going to do. And so they came in. As soon as they walked in, I physically wanted to attack my dad. There was something in me that wanted to claw his eyes out. And I'm like, that's really interesting because I love my dad and I respect him. Mm-hmm. I honestly think he's one of the smartest, most intelligent men I've ever met in my life. And once we started praying, I started laughing hysterically at him. And the words coming out of my mouth were, you think you're something, don't you? Look at you sitting there. You think you're somebody. And it was just this mocking spirit. Was just
so those were demons manifesting.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah. So it was on. It was on from the get-go. 4.5 hours later, he had cast out through the Lord, of course, not him, but the Lord using him. He had cast out between 45 and 60 demons. We don't know exactly how many because sometimes each one would have some with them. But the ones that we know of, there was between like 45 and 60. And so once he cast them out, immediately my countenance changed. My eyes had got to where they were just barely slitted open. And my eyes opened up. They were brighter. They weren't dark anymore. I've done side-by-side pictures where you could see prior to that. Mm-hmm. And I could walk. I had got to where I couldn't even lift my feet. My feet would just shuffle. Mm-hmm. And I could walk. Like I could lift my feet up. So those were the things we noticed at first. And I pretty quickly noticed I had 0 voices left in my head. And I could feel when each what I thought was an altar was leaving because I felt its personality. When it would surface, I felt its personality. And I'm like, oh, I recognize that one. And then it would go. There was one that would not leave. And my dad was commanding it over and over and it wouldn't go. And the Lord said to me, he said, you have to break identity with it. And so I had to verbally say, you're not part of me. I don't accept you. I revoke every invitation I've given you to me. I'm not you and you're not me. And then it left. Because where did that one come from? What personality was it? Or was it associated with something that do you know? It was like, why was that one so hard to come out? Because it was my protector. Oh, okay. So it was with you from the very beginning. That one wasn't the one. It had been there for a while. I don't know exactly. I can't really, I was in and out. I don't exactly remember everything that happened. So when your mother, wasn't your mother like taking notes? Like, okay, yeah. So let me kind of clarify some things here. So one of the craziest things to me about this is that your mother and your mom and dad and this is her stepdad. Want to make sure that's clear, not the abuser. Her stepdad now, she calls her dad because he is her dad. So anyway, they had never done anything like this before. They come to your house and you have to like give them a lesson to know, here's how you cast demons out. And by the end of that day, 4 hours later, they had cast out 45 to 60 demons. So this is incredible. So there's not like some big secret to doing this. So it's the authority of God, the authority of Jesus Christ. And so once they had that in their pocket, they cast out 45 to 60 demons. Mm-hmm. And immediately, Nichole was completely different. These voices that she had thought were hers all these years were gone. It's completely delivered at that point. It's an amazing, amazing story. And like since that moment, I've had 0 symptoms of mental illness, like none of them, not one. So that night, 4 hours later, 45 to 60 demons had been cast out. You guys are probably exhausted. Mm-hmm. You knew what had happened, right? I mean, you knew those demons were gone. You felt totally different. And then was it right away that you understood that, oh my goodness, all those voices, all those alter personalities,
that I thought were me, those were just demons, and they were just gone, right? At that point. And then all the desires to cut and all that stuff was just gone.
So whenever we were done, like my parents, like they lived 2 hours away and they needed to get back home. And part of me wanted to just go back home with them and spend a couple of days.
Yeah.
And part of them wanted to ask me to do that. But we both knew that I was supposed to stay home. I was supposed to stay home with the Lord. So they left. When they left, I think I just sat on the couch because I had been used to noise in my head 24/7. If I was awake, I was hearing noise. And whenever I was in college or if I was wanting to read a book, even past college, I would have to turn the TV on to drown out the noise in my head. I was never a person who could just sit and read a book because all of the noise. And that was one of the first things I noticed because I never understood what people meant when they said, quiet your mind. What do you mean, quiet your mind? I hear voices 24/7. And that was just gone. It was silent. It was quiet. And so that was one of the first things I noticed. My deliverance session, because again, as you said, we had not been trained for this. We didn't know a lot. And so it was very intense. There was screaming, there was vomiting, there was throwing stuff, there was spitting, there was pulling my hair. There was like at one point I was getting choked, like I felt a hand around my throat and my head was in a trash can at that point because I was vomiting. And I was like, I can't breathe. And my mom heard me saying it. And so she's telling my dad, she can't breathe. And so he's commanding the demon to release my throat. And so we learned a lot. Like that was like the whole thing was a major lesson. So I'm sitting on my couch trying to process all of this, like what was all of that? But because my symptoms were so severe, I realized really quickly, like, wow, I knew I was completely changed. I became very, very soft, super quick. Like I would been very hard. I did not cry. Nothing made me cry. If you've seen me cry prior to 2020, you better run because that means I'm about to hurt somebody, like for real. And I became very soft and I was very compassionate. All of that, who I thought was me, what was broken away.